Hey everyone, Sam and James, physiotherapists from Club 360 here. Today we're going to be talking about blood flow restriction training. Now, this method of training actually originated in Japan and over the past few decades has been used more and more in bodybuilding, in training for athletic performance, as well as, and this is what we're going to be talking about today, in rehabilitation. So the idea with blood flow restriction training is that we're completely occluding the venous blood supply and disrupting the arterial blood supply to the working limb. Now, usually we use this training modality with muscles that are distal or further down from the shoulder or the hip joint. So typically we'd apply a cuff around the upper arm or upper leg. And by decreasing this blood supply, we're creating what we call a hypoxic environment where the muscles essentially starved of oxygen. And this drives a cascade of metabolic adaptation that is advantageous for muscle building. We're also getting an earlier onset of fast twitch muscle fiber activation, and we're also getting cellular swelling. So because we get that increase in blood that's around the muscle, that's essentially providing some force on the muscle. It's providing mechanical tension, which is one of the things that really drives muscle strength and size adaptations. Now, to achieve this, we need a certain degree of what we call limb occlusion pressure. Now, there are different types of blood flow restriction modalities. One of them is to simply wrap some sort of tight tourniquet around the working limb. So for the longest period of time before our facility actually invested in some blood flow restriction cuffs, I used to use an old karate belt and basically wrapping that around the thigh and tightening it to the general recommendation of a 7 out of 10 in terms of the discomfort or the tightness. Now, obviously that is very subjective. 7 out of 10 for one person might be very different to 7 out of 10 for another. And this is where the mechanical or electronic blood flow restriction cuffs are quite useful because we can actually have an accurate amount of limb occlusion pressure. And the general recommendations for the lower body is around 80% and for the upper body approximately 40%. In terms of safety, obviously there may be some concern where people are starting to use this modality that it might cause blood clots, or just the idea of decreasing blood flow to an area might be intuitively concerning. However, there's no evidence to show that this increases the risk of blood clots, and it has been shown to be a safe training modality. So we have James and his beautiful quads here set up with the Saga blood flow restriction devices. These are for the lower limb. They're slightly wider than the ones that we would use for the upper limb. These pair very easily with an app on smartphone or tablet, the Saga app, and we have this set up now so that the app has recognized these devices and then we're going to proceed with the cuffs. Now, because James has used this device before, they are calibrated for his individual limb size so that we get the right amount of limb occlusion pressure. But we're just going to demonstrate how these would be calibrated if that wasn't the case. So we basically go to pressure settings and then we would recalibrate, and we can calibrate based on the amount of limb occlusion that we're after. Generally, for the lower limb, we're looking for about 80%. In the upper limb, we want to go a lot lower. So general recommendation is about 40%, but we're using the lower limb devices for lower limb exercise today. So we're going to use the recommended limb occlusion pressure of 224 milligrams of mercury, or 80%. Both devices are going to tighten up to the working amount of pressure. From a rehab perspective, one of the real advantages of using a method like blood flow restriction is that we're able to induce more of a muscular stress without placing as much stress on the joint or on whatever sensitized structure we're having to work around. So let's say, for example, that James has had a knee injury or is rehabbing from a knee surgery. We want to get as much load through his muscles so that we're maintaining or increasing his strength and muscle size and endurance. But at the moment, his knee joint is still too sensitive to handle an excessive amount of load. So we're using the blood flow restriction device to try and force some more stress in the muscle and therefore more adaptation, but without aggravating the knee. And this is why this is a really useful device. When we're using blood flow restriction training, we tend to keep the repetitions on the higher end of the spectrum. So we want to allow that metabolic waste product buildup and that hypoxia to occur. And if we're doing sets of 3 to 5 repetitions, that's not likely to occur. So we want to keep the repetitions relatively high. One of the popular standardized protocols for this is the 30, 15, 15, 15, where we do 4 sets. We basically do 30 repetitions in the first set, wait generally 30 to 60 seconds, and then do a set of 15, have another break, 15, another break, and then a final set of 15. While this does work fairly well, depending on the individual, if they do 30 repetitions and that's going relatively close to failure, then the next set of 15 repetitions might not be within the correct proximity to failure. So someone might be able to do 30 repetitions on the first set and then 20 on the second, or 30 on the first set and 10 on the second. So in general, although with a lot of strength and hypertrophy training, we don't necessarily want to always go to failure, go to the point at which we're not able to complete any further repetitions. When we're using blood flow restriction training, we do want to take all the sets relatively close to failure. And that's exactly what we're going to do now, James. So we're going to have James perform a set of knee extensions. So a nice isolation exercise. So exercise where we're essentially isolating the quads, and we're going to perform that set to failure. So James, when you're ready, off you go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we're looking at trying to get at least sort of 20 repetitions, especially for that first set. We want to try and keep those repetitions nice and high. We're at 16 there. Come on, James, push, 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 push. So at this point, James is starting to feel quite a lot of fatigue. You can sort of imagine that waste product build up in the quads there. His face is showing it. Come on, we've got a few more, James. We're up to 22. Push, 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 push. 39, 40, and he's done. So it was a good example of taking that set to failure. Now, we talked earlier about the protocol of up to 60 seconds. If we want to stress it, we might go as low as 30. However, in James's case, we're actually going to keep the rest intervals to 15 seconds, and we've actually gone over time. So James, when you're ready, and just kidding, of course, James, you can have a rest. And now that that torture is finished, we're going to press finish session so that we can put James out of his misery. So that's just a very brief demonstration of how we might use blood flow restriction training in the rehab process. As I said, it can be used for strength, for muscle building, and for endurance, depending on the rep scheme and the training modality that you're using. If you're interested in getting more of this fitness content, then please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're using this in the clinic with our clients and also with our staff members. Kenji, who's a competitive bodybuilder, has been using it and has been achieving a lot of success with that. So
wait,
yeah.
Where's Kenji?
Where's Kenji now?
Where's Kenji?
I haven't seen Kenji since this morning.
Oh no!
Where's Kenji?
Kenji, no!